That snaps for losers, man. I don't get involved in that stuff, but
Angel Rashad Milligan rolling out.
That's a good question.
Brandon,
We
you want one
can't,
quick question?
we can't ask Rashad questions.
Hey, Rashad.
So this was another story that I saw. I saw this yesterday actually, and I never brought it up. So here I am bringing it up now. Shout out to the capital B. Make sure y'all support Black media, Black journalism. I believe this is an independent media outlet as well. So shouts out to them. Make sure you support and read. Harvard fights Trump in court. Black students and academics say the real battle is on campus. As the country's oldest university takes on the president, Black students and Black professors said that they carry an emotional toll. This is written by Alvin Bayenza. Shout out to Alvin Bayenza. A federal judge on Friday blocked Trump's administration's attempt to revoke Harvard University's ability to enroll international students. The move comes after the nation's oldest institution of higher learning requested a temporary restraining order against the federal government's action. Harvard filed the lawsuit against the Trump administration earlier Friday. In the suit, the school calls the federal government's revocation of Harvard Student and Exchange Visitor Program certification a retaliation for refusing to comply with the government's demands for a quote-unquote attack on academic freedom. In a letter sent to the school on Thursday, the Department of Homeland Security said Harvard has a chance to regain the certification if it provides the government with detailed records about international students enrolled in the school within 72 hours. The requested records include quote unquote electronic records and audio or video footage regarding the illegal activity, whether on and off campus, by a non-immigrant student enrolled in Harvard University in the last 5 years, according to the DHS letter. In the letter, the department cited an earlier request on April 16th for the school to provide records of its international students to the government. Although Harvard turned over those records on April 30th, the government said that they weren't quote unquote responsive to the request. That seems interesting. But when the government gave Harvard another opportunity to comply, it gave an insufficient quote unquote response to the letter. The federal government's effort to ban foreign students enrollment at Harvard is the latest development in the ongoing legal battle with the school for academic oversight and control. Harvard University student Prince Williams has long suspected that the school's administration has been watching him closely. Williams is an organizer with the African and African American Resistance Organization, was one of several students who were suspended by the school's administrative board last year for participating in the encampment on Harvard Yard to protest the war in Gaza. The decision by administrators was later downgraded to academic probation. I want to go back to this because if the whole thing on this, right, of getting rid of all the international students was because a lot of the international students were a part of the Gaza protest on campus. I know a lot of people, a lot of the Gaza protesters and pro-Palestinian people, they all said we're not voting for Kamala Harris because of the Democrats, kind of non-willingness to kind of stand up against Palestine. Against Israel and stop giving Israel money because the U.S., if you guys didn't know, has given like a record amount of money to Israel, more than any other country, like in history and stuff, after the October 7th attacks a couple of years ago and Gaza and things of that sort, or with Hamas and Israel and stuff. So it's just like, I don't know. Whenever I see something like this of like the current administration punishing pro-Palestinian protesters, I'm just like, that's ironic. It's like you voted against this for what? To get the same thing? I don't know. I just look at it like that. Going back to this, I got cases for real, said the senior, who is a history major. Williams and many student organizers like him have been fighting against Harvard's strict policies regarding campus organizing. As a result, tensions have been building between campus organizers and the school's administration. But in the wake of legal battle over academic oversight between President Donald Trump and Harvard, Williams said that the students' relationship with the school isn't so oppositional. The federal government announced on May 13th that it would cut $450 million in grants to Harvard for failing to address what is said, which was rampant racial discrimination and anti-Semitism on Harvard's campus. That move came after the school filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration last month for freezing $2.2 billion in multi-year grants after it refused to comply with the government's list of demands. The ongoing legal battle between the university in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and the federal government underscores the social and cultural differences that Black students and Black professors often face at Harvard and other elite institutions. On one hand, applaud the school's efforts in standing up against the Trump administration, but on the other hand, they have a grapple with how Harvard's new policies and decisions have disproportionately harmed them. The school renamed its Office of Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging to the Community and Campus Life on April 28th, according to an email sent out to students. Hours later, Harvard also announced that it no longer hosts or fund affinity group ceremonies such as the Black student graduation during commencement, according to the Harvard Crimson, the school's run newspaper. Black students and professors said that they feel a wave of uncertainty has washed over them as they work to figure out how to navigate being Black on campus. In this moment, we have an interesting position of trying to figure out, okay, what is our positionality? When the university is fighting against a legal case, is fighting a legal case against Trump, but at the same time, we know that the university has proven time and time again that it's not for the students in sincerity, but it's about defending its own interests. You better say it, Williams. The university did not respond to the Capital B's request to comment regarding the sentiments of Black students in the story. In a letter to the Trump administration, the school's president, Alan M. Garber, wrote that Harvard, quote unquote, is a place to bring all people of all backgrounds together to learn in an inclusive environment where ideas flourish regardless of whether they are deemed conservative, liberal, or something else. A place where assumptions and claims are tested and challenged respectfully and thoughtfully in pursuit of knowledge and truth. Black students and professors said they feel unprotected and unsure of their academic futures because of the ongoing legal battle. Black students said that they are pushed to rethink of how to create safe spaces for themselves on a campus that is slowly rolling back its DEI initiatives. And Black professors said that they are unsure that the school can continue being a beacon of academic freedom under the Trump's hiding attacks against the university. Even before Trump stepped into office for a second term, Black academics at the nation's oldest institution of higher learning said that they have felt a shift on campus climate last year. The resignation of Claudine Gay, Harvard's only Black president in its 388-year history, and the allegations of plagiarism against 4 Black women professors at the school from right-wing activists were some of the early warning signs that the atmosphere of the school is changing, according to Sandra Susan Smith, a professor at the sociology of Harvard's Kennedy School of Government. Smith, a Black female professor, thought the university should have run a campaign to make it clear that Black academics were just as credible as any other scholar, but it didn't. Feeling abandoned and betrayed by her very own university, she decided to go on a sabbatical to focus on her research and writing. Harvard failed to protect the members of the community, said Smith, who is a director of the Malcolm Weiner Center for Social Policy at the Harvard Kennedy School. We are people that they recruited to be here, yet in the face of those attacks by those who want to delegitimize Black scholarship, Black scholars, and the quality of work of what we do to what we do, I feel like this was a real failure for me. That was a major turning point. At other colleges, Black professors have begun facing similar stressors. At Columbia University in New York City, Karen Atia, Atta, and I know who this is too. I'm so sorry on the pronunciation because she is a columnist at the Washington Post. She taught a course on race and Western journalism at the school's international, at the School of International and Public Affairs. Hold on, twin. I'm gonna respect you because I know who you are. Like I read your stuff. I've read your stuff before. Give me a second. Okay.
You wrote pretty movingly about when your father recounted the moment he learned of Emmett Till's death when he was a teenager in Ghana. I'm wondering how they, your parents, relate to what's going on now differently than you do.
I think like so many immigrant families from the Caribbean to Africa.
Oh, this is just a segment. I want her name. Hold on.
I wonder if HoneyBook has any new.
Hey, 5,000 subs, man. Getting YouTube red. No more ads on YouTube.
For joining me on Black News Tonight, I'm Mark Lamont Hill. An update tonight concerning the men convicted of killing Ahmaud Arbery. Travis and Greg McMichael, along with William Roddy Bryan, will all stand trial on hate crime charges related to Arbery's death. Both McMichaels reversed their plans to plead guilty in the federal case of a U.S. district judge rejected terms of a plea deal. It would have allowed the men to serve 30 years of their sentence in federal prison instead of state custody. In January, all three men were sentenced to life in prison after being convicted of killing Arbery. The McMichaels without parole and Bryan with parole. The federal trial is to determine if they also violated Arbery's civil rights during the killing. The New York Giants, Miami Dolphins owner Stephen Ross, and Denver Broncos president of football relations John Elway all issued a response to the claims made in the lawsuit filed by former Dolphins head coach Brian Flores in 2007. In light of all of this, the Washington Post's Karen Ettier
Okay, Karen Ettier. I'm so sorry. Like I said, I know who you are, so I wanted to make sure I got that right. Okay. At Columbia University in New York City, Karen Ettier, a columnist at the Washington Post, taught a course called Race and Western Journalism at the School of International and Public Affairs. But Ettier recently had her class canceled for the spring 2025 semester. There's this sense of, is my institution going to have my back? It's just a sense of, am I safe? Is my work safe? Said Ettier, who added in the wake of the right-wing attacks on higher education, Black academics have been canaries in a coal mine for a broader assault on democratic institutions. I'll say this. So the first time I really learned about Black history, like beyond just slavery and Martin Luther King Jr., was in college. When I like went out and paid for classes in college and higher learning at Georgia State University, because I took a lot of African American studies courses. That's the first time, you know what I'm saying? I'm like probably in my 20s, right? I'm probably like 20, 21 that I'm hearing and learning about actual Black American history. And so the fact that it's already limited to that, and that is trying to be squeezed out and pushed out and forced out by the powers that be with the current administration, I think is terrible, because it's like that class taught me so much. Like, it debunked the kind of Hotep theory that you hear online, right? About like God and Christianity in the Black community and how Black people shouldn't be Christians and stuff like that. It debunked a lot of the things that I just heard and believed, because it was like theories that you heard outside of school, growing up outside of grade school. And it's like, okay, I'm not learning about this anywhere else, and this person is telling me, so it has to be, I guess, the truth. But like, you have educated, PhD doctors and everybody like that, like teaching us the real stuff. And rest in peace to Dr. Charlene Holmes, by the way, as always. And shout out to Patricia Dixon. And then another one of my professors, his name slips my mind right now, but like all those professors, like, really just meant a lot to me in college. That's the first time I ever learned about that stuff. So the fact that they're trying to squeeze that out is sad. I know I'm saying the same thing. I'll go back to the story. My bad. Trump has said the ongoing assaults at Harvard are part of a broader effort by the administration to purge the nation's higher education landscape of what he's called wokeism and liberal ideologies. Boo. Samaya Evans. Here's the. I'll finish the story. Shut up, Rashad. Samaya Evans, a sophomore majoring in social studies and African American studies, said that although the university likes to imagine itself as a bastion of racial diversity, she still hasn't felt protected as an African American student on campus since the school entered into a legal battle with the federal government. Harvard undergraduate Black community leaders, the organization that has spent months preparing its Black student graduation, found out on May 2nd that the university abruptly canceled its reservation at Memorial Church, an interdenominational church on campus. It is really frustrating because we had to do a lot of this work since the fall. At least Martin Smith, one of the organization's co-chairs, said the group is now working with the Black Graduate Student Association and Harvard Black Alumni Society to find a new space to host the event to fund it. The changing climate on Harvard's campus has pushed Black organizers to focus on creating safe spaces for students to talk about how they feel on campus, whether that be through campus discussions or holding events dedicated to Black students. Folks have taken this time to really build and understand what's the end goal and the vision for students, what that could look like in a positive framework rather than constantly fighting in a negative way as to what a Black student life on campus can be, Martin Smith said. Last year, students created the African American Resistance Organization known as AFRO. One tenet of the activist group is that its members adhere to the philosophy that they are vulnerable alone. The organization was formed as a space for students to organize around issues that affect Black Americans at Harvard. According to the student newspaper, the Harvard Crimson, the group was created in response to the U.S. Supreme Court overturning affirmative action and an April 2023 spotting incident where a crime was falsely reported and prompted a large police response. In this case, 4 Black students were forced out of their dorm rooms at gunpoint. Mia Montrose, a member of the organization and a junior studying environmental science and engineering, said that the current climate on campus has created, quote unquote, increased fear and increased resistance. Still, in the wake of Harvard canceling the Black student graduation, Montrose wonders if this moment will push organizations to form larger scale acts of resistance. These are clearly attacks against all students of color, she said. Cornell Williams Brooks, a civil rights attorney turned Harvard professor, said that it is his biggest fear in the higher education that we will mirror the federal government's inconsistencies. It doesn't bode well for Harvard, a global leader in education, to be run by the same administration that has shrunk the economy and divided its citizens, Brooks said. If we have a federal government that's trying to micromanage classes, can we trust the people trying to ban books to teach students? Said Brooks, who directs the William Monroe Trotter Collaborative for Social Justice at Harvard Center for Public Leadership. Despite its flaws, Brooks said he believes Harvard is sincere in its efforts to protect academic freedom and its students and staff. Harvard has to win this fight, not because of the Ivy League and the prestige of the endowment. He said Harvard needs to win this fight in terms of its vitality of democracy. The story's been updated. Yeah, I'll say this, bro. It was something with the wokeism and everything like that. The idea that racism, I think this all the time with with basketball, right? With Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese discussions. The idea that racism like doesn't exist, or like the idea to stop talking about racism or ignore racism for the sake of your own comfort or anything like that, I think is very counterproductive to the progression and the actual making racism or whatever you want to say like more breathable, if that makes sense. Because just acting like it doesn't exist or not discussing it like doesn't help the issue, and it doesn't change the fact that it's there and it plays a part in every single thing that has to do with American society and modern American society, because it just always will. Like if the country was built on this, then in everything, and the fabric, it's in our clothes, it's in the cotton, it's in my socks, it's in everything that you're wearing right now. If you're an American, like racism is a part of everything: the food we eat, the businesses we go to, the streets we drive on, how this neighborhood looks, why we don't live in this neighborhood. Racism is in all that. Racism is in traffic, Atlanta traffic, the way that is built, 285 and stuff like that, so white people can go. It was designed so white people can go around this and that, or blah blah blah, and so black people, because it was a black city, and that's why there's so much traffic in Atlanta, because the infrastructure of it is built. This is on TikTok. It's just a thing. Racism is in everything, bro. So to downplay it or say I don't want to hear about it, or it's the race card that you're pulling, or this and that, it's not only dismissive to the people who are directly affected by it. But it's also just calling people stupid, bro, for something that exists. And I think that's whack. So that's what I have to say about it. Salute to the students fighting. I know one black student now from Harvard or graduate from Harvard. So I'm gonna use her for sure and just like send her this and ask her questions like, what is this like? What is this like? What is this like? Because that's what network is for, right? Okay, next scene next. Shouts out to the Capital B. Amazing story.
that steps for losers, man. I don't get involved in that stuff, but
Change Rashad Milligan rolling out.
Yeah, we can't ask Rashad questions.
Hey, Rashad.